Good morning, everybody. Wanted to welcome you to our 2012 testing overview. We're very excited to come here today and present everything that the examiners has observed over the last year of our new test. So we are going to do some question and answers. We will be going over the practical examinations as well as the theory test for cosmetology, for nail technicians, and for aesthetics, and also for natural hair. How this will kind of flow today is we will start off with some general information that's regarding all of our exams. We will go into our cosmetology information. Once we are finished with cosmetology, we will break for lunch, hopefully around 12:15 or 12:30. And then when everybody returns from lunch, we will be doing our aesthetics program, natural hair, and nail technician. For those of you that do not offer any of those three programs, you would be free to leave after cosmetology is complete. But for those of you who offer those additional programs, we will be doing those after lunch. Before we get started, just to let you know, restrooms, if you go out this door, down the hall to your right, straight ahead is the cafeteria. If you go through the cafeteria doors, there's a set of restrooms at the back. Also a set of restrooms to the left before you get to the cafeteria. And there's a designated smoking area through the cafeteria. To the left, there's a little outdoor area for smoking. I'd like to introduce our exam staff to get started. Miss Sandra Lee. Chris Norris is our newest addition to the examination team. He's doing a wonderful job. Miss Tanya Cox, Loree McKinney, and Marcella Cunningham. Also, for those of you... Also, those of you, you should know that you've received several emails by now regarding the fact that Ms. Tyler is now out with our inspection team. So she is no longer the school liaison. So we have taken her duties and divided those up between our examiners. So each school has received a contact person. So one of the examiners sitting up here is the contact person for your school. And I know you've had communication with them via email by now. So if you have questions at the end, please feel free to come up and ask them, get their business cards. If you need to make some contact information with them, this would be a great time to do so. They're doing a wonderful job taking over those duties for Ms. Tyler, and we're really excited to have some one-on-one contact with a lot of the schools. We also have our inspection team with us today, down here in the front row. Karen Wallace, Joan Lewis, Amanda Hill, Meg Lamentia, Crystal, Beth Wasco, Tony Moore, Joanne Byerly, and Shauna. Shauna and Crystal are two new members to the inspection team. David Spellman, who you all know, over there in the corner, and our executive director, Mr. Tracus, who's going to say a few words.
Good morning, ladies and a few gentlemen. Glad you're here today, and welcome. Thank you for being here on time, and we look forward to an exciting day. We get a chance to hear feedback from you, and you get a chance to hear some of the observations that we've made over the last year. I just had a few brief comments for you in addition to welcoming you. I want to thank you for what you're doing for the cosmetology profession here in the state of Ohio. And for what you're doing for future career opportunities for a lot of people. I know a few of your schools have been a little down in terms of new students, and that's to be expected. It's nothing you're doing. Please continue to try to do the good job that you're doing, and we hope that our economy is able to turn around. We'll get new people out in the profession. One thing I think is interesting is since we instituted our new examination last year, the year before last, we had about 14,000 people who took tests at the State Examination Center in Grove City. Last year, or this year, it's about 17,000 we had up until we do a fiscal year from June 30 to July 1. So we've had an increase in the amount of people who have taken the test. We've also had a few people who have taken the test again. But I think the good news is that we're starting to see improvement in terms of the amount of people coming through, and we know that this is a time of transition in our economy, and we hope that we're going to have a lot more people coming in over the next several years. A couple things to keep in mind. I know you've probably heard and read a few things about what may or may not be going at the state board, and just want to give you a few ideas about that. First of all, we do have legislation before the Ohio General Assembly, which I think will be important, and it is kind of a dynamic time. We are trying to go out and modernize our laws. We're also trying to modernize our rules, and so we have House Bill 453 pending before the Ohio General Assembly right now. It's sponsored by Representative Cheryl Grossman, who is from Grove City, and so we went to our hometown state representative. And there's a number of changes that you'll see as part of the legislation if it passes into law. It's pending before the Ohio Senate right now. And here's some things that you may be able to look forward to next year. We may be talking about a braiders license, having a specific braiders license and coming up with a course outline and curricula around braiding specifically. We may have a threading license next year, so that people would have just one fairly simple threading license. Again, we'd have to put together a course outline and then come up with curricula around those two issues. In order to accommodate the amount of people who are coming in who want to gain that licensure, I would urge you to consider putting together refresher courses on laws, rules, as well as on those two topics, because people are going to be coming to you and saying, well, I know how to do this. Well, I think I know how to do this, but I've been doing it for a while, maybe not legally. And I want to come and brush up on that. You're allowed to laugh at that one. We know they're not doing it legally, by the way. Our inspection team is here and can tell you very articulately about that. But you might think about how to put together some refresher courses on that, and particularly about laws and rules, because that's really a critical thing that we want people to understand is how to respect the population, how to respect your customers, make sure that you're doing things with make sure that infection control and safety are paramount to everything that's going on. So you may want to think about how to put together programs along those lines, because I think they'll be popular. We also have an opportunity in the future to put together some additional continuing education hours for people who are independent contractors in the state. We find that many of the independent contractors, of course, they're managing cosmetologists, so they either worked for a year in a salon before they became a manager, or they took the 300-hour course at one of your schools. And so they certainly have a lot more knowledge than the standard person, but they also sometimes lack some of the business skills. So we want them to have 4 hours every year of additional continuing education training, specifically concerning business law, tax law, incorporation, that type of thing, because we notice that sometimes they don't do the right things with respect to having the right licensure and that type of thing. So we're offering that. We also have something that'll be a new concept, which is, if this bill passes, the board will be able to offer corrective action courses for people who violate the law. So if one of our good inspectors goes in and finds that someone is unlicensed, rather than hitting them with a huge fine because they can't pay it anyway, we might say, hey, please take a course so you can understand why licensure is important in the state of Ohio. So that's something that could be coming up on the horizon. One thing that is not anticipated as part of this legislation is anything that has to do with the manager's license. I know there's been a lot of debate. Our state board has gone back and forth about what they think about the manager's license. For the time being, the prevailing winds out of Grove City are that we want to see the program the way it is, and we don't want to make substantial changes to it. That is not something that the board controls, however. That's something that the Ohio General Assembly has some domain over. And so I know that the Private Schools Association, I don't know if Mr. Yearwood's here or not, but oh, there he is. Okay, well, he has a keen interest in this and has spoken articulately to our legislatures about the value of the manager's license. And I think it's incumbent upon you, if you concur, that you may want to reach out to your legislators and ask them to pass House Bill 453 the way it is. And that way you don't have to worry about anything along those lines. Lastly, I just wanted to let you know that we are also in the process of updating our board's rules. So in some instances, we have emailed out to you some information about rules. We're trying to modernize them. The state of Ohio passed something called the Common Sense Initiative earlier last year. And it said we would like to have simpler rules and rules that don't infringe on private sector businesses and the ability to create jobs and employment in the state of Ohio. So we worked with a little work team, and we have some proposals out there for your edification and for the boards. If you go to our website, hopefully later on today, maybe even tomorrow morning, you'll see these on there, what the proposals are. We want and encourage your feedback on the rules, see what you think about them. There are changes to the rules. They're not I don't think there would be, some are substantial, some are insubstantial, some are just language changes. But please review them and let us know what you think, because the state wants us to have everybody who's licensed to have a say in how this process is working and what you think about those things. I just want to conclude by saying I think we have a dynamic team here at the State Board. We only exist because of you, and we thank you for what you're doing. We know that licensure fees are what pays our board's way. So all of us work for you, and we remember that. So please let us know what you think. Occasionally we make mistakes, but we try to limit those dramatically, and we know you're in the same boat. Occasionally you make mistakes, but not that much. So we hope that you'll continue to do a fine job. I'm very proud of the group here. Lori Pearson and her examination staff are the best in the country. Our inspection staff just does a phenomenal job under David Spellman, making sure that the public is protected. I think we've got a terrific industry, and you're the backbone of it. Thank you.
Okay, before we get started going through the specifics of the examination, I wanted to go over our consistency standards. Consistency standards, for the purposes for the examination teams, means that an examiner follows a guide known as consistency standards. These standards ensure that all candidates receive fair and impartial evaluation. So what this basically does is allows the examiner to evaluate what they see, and they base it on a set of standards that are fair for all candidates across the board. There are specific reasons why they would give somebody a yes for a task line, and they have a specific set of standards why they would give somebody a no. So yes, it is a evaluation. They do have to observe what the candidate is doing, but they do have a set of guidelines that they go by when making these observations. It's just not, because it's how they feel that day. It is a specific set of written standards that they go by every day for all exams, and that way it keeps things fair across the board for everybody. Okay, before we get started with our principles and practices of infection control, I wanted to let everybody know that once each segment or section is complete, we will have some cordless mics and we will be out in the audience. So we're going to do kind of a question and answer session after each segment. So, Ms. McKinney?
Good morning, everyone. Okay, I'm going to go over principles and practices of infection control. Infection control involves the steps taken to eliminate or reduce the spread of disease and kill certain or all microbes. Levels of infection control. Sanitation means to remove dirt and debris to aid in preventing the growth of microbes. This is basically simply washing your hands or sanitizing your hands. Disinfection destroys most, but not all harmful organisms on surfaces. Disinfection is not effective against bacterial spores. Sterilization kills or destroys all microbes. Generally, this level does not apply because the skin is not being punctured. Exam disinfection requirements. All non-porous implements must be disinfected by using an EPA-registered disinfectant effective against tuberculosidals or effective against HIV or HBV. Disinfectants include Marvicide, Barbicide Plus, Barbicide Wipes, Barbicide, and Citrus 2. We've been seeing some different labeling in exams. This is an example of one. This person would get a no because they are covering up the ingredients that are in this disinfectant. We need to be able to see that it's hospital grade, and then it has all the sidles on it, which this one we cannot see. So if they purchase a bottle, just tell them to simply leave it as is, okay? They're also doing that on the hand sanitizers as well, so make sure that we are able to see the ingredients, okay? Ohio Infection Control Guidelines, blood spill procedures. All non-porous implements which have come in contact with blood or bodily fluids shall be disinfected by using an EPA-registered disinfectant effective against tuberculosidals or HIV or HBV. All porous materials which have come in contact with blood or bodily fluids shall be double bagged and discarded. The testing center is equipped with biohazard receptacles. Candidates are required to dispose of contaminated materials in these receptacles. So if your student cuts themselves, they need to take care of that. Then they can put all the soil materials inside a Ziploc baggie or a biohazard waste baggie that you have sent them with. That is one bag. And then the biohazard waste container would be the second bag, okay? If they do not dispose of it in the biohazard receptacle, they will be marked a no for disposal for their blood spill, okay? General infection control and safety procedures. Keep all porous items, implements covered when not in use. All dry storage areas free of dirt and debris. Use an EPA-registered hospital-effective bacterial, virucidal, and fungicidal that is mixed and used according to the manufacturer's directions. All bottles and or containers other than the original manufacturer's container shall be properly labeled. Implements dropped on the floor should be immediately picked up. Okay. Thank you.
Are there questions on the infection control principles and practices?
All right, good morning. I am going to go over some of the task lines. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each task line also, okay? Each exam is evaluated on proper setup and safety and infection control guidelines. These guidelines will remain consistent throughout all practical examinations. Your first task line is disinfect work area. This means that all students should disinfect their stations before placing any items on top of the station. They should disinfect inside the station, also in the drawer, cabinets, on the countertop, and the curling iron bin. If a student places an item on top of that station as their disinfectant bottle, sanitizer, before disinfecting, they will be marked a no in this area. Also, if a student may disinfect their countertop and did not disinfect inside their station, they will be marked a no in this area also. Disposals of all soil material. All candidates need to dispose of all soil material, especially after disinfecting their station using their paper towel or terry cloth towel. Also, candidates should dispose of any towels used for a draping. Their terry cloth towel or neck strip should be disposed of if it's been soiled with cholesterol, water, or barrier cream. They should be disposed of. Also, spatulas, cotton. Once you get whatever you need out of the container with the spatula, throw it away. Do not have your students to place that back on top of the stations. They will be marked a no in this area if they do. Sanitize hands. All students should sanitize their hands before re-entering inside their kits, inside their stations, or touching a mannequin or mannequin hand. What the examiners do, we do come around and ask the candidates for their disinfectant and their sanitizer. If they are rambling in their bags looking for this sanitizer, we are going to mark them no for this. So the very last thing you should have your students pack is their disinfectant and their sanitizer. So they can disinfect their station first. Once they're done doing that, make sure that disinfectant goes back inside the bag or on the station because they have disinfected it. And then grab their sanitizer and then sanitize their hands before touching any items in their kits. Okay? Applies neck protection and drape. Students should make sure that they apply their neck strip or terry cloth towel and a cape. This is done in their setup procedure. They can use a neck strip and a cape for the setup, the thermal curling iron, and haircut procedure. All chemical draping should be a terry cloth towel, cape, and another terry cloth towel. They cannot use Barbie towels. If they are using Barbie towels, they will be marked a no for this area. If they're using just their neck strip and the cape, they will be marked no in this area also. All sanitizers and disinfectants display manufacturer's label in English. This means that all disinfectants should have a manufacturer label, not a written label that is wrote out or a typed label. Should be the manufacturer's label on a sanitizer, disinfectant, and alcohol if you are having your students to bring alcohol. You cannot write alcohol on your bottle. All your other containers may have written labels like your massage cream or your cleansing cream, things like that. But sanitizers and disinfectants, alcohol, need to have the manufacturer's label. This is when the examiner will walk up to the candidate and ask to see their disinfectant and their hand sanitizer. Following all infection control. This means having your drawers and cabinets remain shut when you are not getting something out of them. Also, it means all porous items, meaning your cotton, your paper towels, extra items, meaning your extra orange wood sticks, your extra files, combs, tint brushes. This needs to remain inside your station, or you can place it inside of a baggie that it's remained sealed. They may get in and out of their station whenever they want to. We tell them this in the exam. They don't have to have everything on their station. But if they would like to have extra items on their station, make sure they have a baggie and that it remains zipped. Also, we do not want your students to have lap towels. We are having problems with students having these. They are constantly wiping their hands on the same lap towel. It needs to be disposed of. So just do not have your candidates wipe or have a lap towel because they're getting marked off for 2 procedures, disposal and following all infection control. So that's 2 steps that they could get points for, okay? Maintain work area in a safe manner. This means anything that is dropped on the floor, make sure you're having your students to pick it up, dispose of it. If it's something that they may need as their shears, their razors, or combs, and they didn't bring any extra, pick it up, disinfect it, wipe it off, and then move on with whatever you need to use, okay? Also, make sure the curling iron cords are picked up from the floor, wrapped around the curling iron, and put inside the curling iron bin once they are done with the thermal curling iron. They will know that we are done with them with their procedure by us saying thank you, and we're moving on to the next client. At that moment, they need to turn that curling iron off, wrap it up, put it inside the curling iron bin. Also, the curling iron bin needs to remain shut also after the thermal curling iron. If it is not, they will be marked off throughout each and every procedure after that procedure, and that goes along with the curling iron cord also. Bottles and jar lids, they need to remain shut. If they need to get their massage cream out, they can get it out with a spatula. They could put it on their hand, dispose of the spatula, and close the lid back up. If it is not closed, they will be marked a no in this area also. Are there any questions on any task line?
With the disinfectants, if they have it in their own bottle, can they have a copy of the label?
They may have a copy of the label. It must be legible that we can read it.
On the antiseptic, is it okay if you put Seabreeze in a bottle, or do you need to have a Seabreeze label on it?
It can be on a bottle.
Okay.
The container that you said has to be closed for the curling iron, Is it a flip over top where they know to close
It's
it?
actually a push-up cabinet that they'll just shut.
Okay.
I've seen some over here too. Okay.
Just clarification on the draping.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say they could have a neck strip just for the cut?
For
and-
the haircut and the
and
thermal
and the
curling
thermal,
iron,
And then they have to switch to a
chemical
towel
draping
underneath.
for chemical.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Towel, cape towel. Okay.
The clarification for the extra items inside their working drawer, which means the extra combs and brushes, does that bag have to be closed or can be open?
If
So-
it's inside their station, it can be open because they're closing that drawer or cabinet. If it's laying on top of their station, it needs to be closed at all times. They can get inside and then close it back.
Okay. Are they allowed to write dehydrator on their bottle? I know you said the alcohol bottle has to be in its original container. Are they allowed to have dehydrator written on the bottle?
Yes.
I have two questions.
Yes.
First question is, are the students okay just to still disinfect that one time initially when they're setting
We
up?
consider this one client. As long as they have not gotten anything else on their station that's soiled or anything like that, yes, they can just disinfect in the setup time. But if they get it messed up with something on there, they need to disinfect it again.
Second question is, you were saying that all lids need to be closed, and I believe before you were saying that if they had a container that had relaxer on one side and color on the other side.
That is okay
That's
to
still
be
okay.
open. We're asking for the cleansing cream, massage cream. If they're getting in that, they need to get it out and close that lid.
The towel and the neck strip for hair cutting, can they have a towel?
They may have a towel.
Because I'm afraid the neck strip, if it gets real wet.
They can
they
have a
to
towel
change that,
there.
right? So towel's
That's
okay.
fine. They can use a towel. It's neck strip or towel. But in the chemical draping, we're just asking for that chemical drape.
Prior to beginning any section, do they sanitize their hands first, then disinfect, or do they disinfect first and then sanitize their hands?
In the setup, we will give them a yes if they sanitize first also, but they still need to sanitize before they start rambling through that bag. Okay, so it's up to them. If they want to sanitize first, that's fine. Disinfect your station, and then you need to sanitize again.
You said on your website, so I didn't write everything down or wasn't able to, so can we refer to the website to review this?
Our task line is on the website, but not everything that I just said. It's just the task line.
Okay,
I can kind of touch on it again. I have another section like this.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
The baggies that they have things in, do those baggies need to be labeled on what they are, like cotton, orangewood sticks?
I'm
things
going to
like
go
that?
over that in just a few seconds, so
great.
just hold on to that question,
Thank you.
okay?
Do they need to use a chemical or a chemical cape, or can it just be a kid's cape that's cloth?
They need to do a chemical draping, so would you do a cloth for a chemical? So they need to do a chemical
A
draping.
plastic one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Oh, my question was, some of the girls said that they put towels on the floor during the hair cutting portion. Is that a necessary
We
step?
actually tell them to, just to catch the drips. They don't have to as long as there's no water on the floor. But only for that procedure. We are now seeing that once we tell them for this procedure, which we tell them only for this procedure, they are now leaving it down all through other procedures. So teachers, students, that is just for the haircut procedure.
Okay, thanks.
Hi. Yeah, I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so the chemical drape, they have to use a plastic towel. But for the thermal curling, do they have, can they get away with
Okay, let me
not having a plastic cape? Because
let me
that's a safe-
go. Let me go back over this. We really don't care what cape you use. Okay. I guess I want you guys to teach your students that they make sure they know what a chemical draping is. We really don't care what cape you use. Okay, let me change that. Put it that way. So, towel, cape, towel, like you said, it could be a different type of cape, but teach your students for towel, cape, towel for a chemical draping. Yes. No, just one. Any other questions?
Don't they need the neck strip?
You can teach them neck strip for the haircut, or they can use, our task line says neck strip / towel. So for the haircut, the thermal curling iron, they can use that. Chemical draping has to be a towel, terry cloth towel, cape, and another terry cloth towel.
So they don't have to use the strip, but if they do, it's okay.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions before we move on? All right, moving on. This is our exam room policies. The first one is no talking. We do not want the candidates to talk to each other. They are allowed to talk to us. They can ask us any questions that they may want to ask us. They can try us, see what they get out of us. And that's what we tell them. Try us, see what you get out of us. But we will say, do as you were taught in school if it's something to do with the exam. But with the talking policy, the first time they will have a warning. They will lose all points for whatever procedure that they are in. Okay? Also, they will be signing a misconduct form that will follow them through each and every exam room. So, facial, manicure, hair side, and computer lab. If they're caught talking a second time, they will be excused for 90 days. This means they cannot even call or schedule for their test until after the 90th day. Okay? No borrowing of any supplies. All candidates should have their supplies when they come to the exam center. They should not be borrowing any supplies from each other. They should make sure, or maybe you should go over it with them also the day before they come down, just to see that they have everything in their kits. All right? If they are caught borrowing, they will be excused for 90 days. Cell phone use and texting, you'll be amazed about this. There are students texting inside the exam center. They're also using the cell phone in the restrooms while they're doing their breaks and water breaks. There's absolutely no cell phone use, calling or texting. They will be excused for 90 days. They can talk in the lobby on their lunch break, not inside the exam center. We don't know what they're texting. We don't know what they're saying. So they will be excused for 90 days. Written materials. Students should not bring any written materials as their notes to help them with their tests, their TIPs, or their textbooks. If they do bring it, they need to make sure they're leaving it in the car or tucking it away inside their kits. Once they're inside the exam center and we have started the test, they will be excused for 90 days for having this, if we see it out. Itemized lists. We do not want students bringing itemized lists. And what I mean by this, and if you guys want me to pass this around, I will. It's okay that it says manicure. It's not okay that it has a list of items written on a baggie like this or on a piece of paper. This will aid them in their tests. So please make sure. The procedure is fine. A list of items is not. Okay? Do you guys want this passed around so you can see it? If they have that, they will also be excused for 90 days with that. Okay? So please make sure you're not having your students pack their bags that way. Returning to exam from lunch breaks. Students need to be back into the lobby by 12:30. We promptly open our doors at 12:30. It takes a couple of minutes to get them inside. Once we do have them inside and the doors are shut, and someone comes after the doors are shut, they will have to reschedule their exam. Okay? So please make sure you're letting your students know to be back in the lobby by 12:30. Mannequin head and hand requirements. We're asking that you have your students to bring mannequins that is colored all one color. We did used to allow you guys to have them to highlight it and stuff like that, but over this past year we've had a lot of problems with students coloring quadrants, different colors. So we're asking that if you're going to have your students to color the mannequin, it's one color all over. Okay? Also, the hand requirements. Please make sure that your students have their hands prepared before they come to the exam center. They are not allowed to put their nails on during the exam. It must be done before they even get there. We do check mannequin hands and heads, so if they do not have them on, they will have to reschedule their test. Okay? Any questions? Wow, hands went up.
For the hand, should they come with the nails polished, or do you want to see them take them
No,
off?
please don't have them polish their nails.
Okay, so you
that
don't wanna
takes up
see
some
them.
of their time.
Okay, all right.
So clear nails.
I have a question. When they're in their practical, are the candidates allowed to drink water?
We only allow candidates that have a medical issue. We do have a water fountain outside, right outside the exam room. So if they need to get water, they are allowed to go anytime. We do not turn anyone away from getting water or going to the restroom. We do only allow one candidate out at a time. So if a student is out, they will have to wait for the next candidate to come back in.
You said no written materials
Yes.
in the examination room, but you said they can write the procedure on the bags?
No. Make sure that she gets the bag also so she can see it. No written material, but they are allowed to write the label of that procedure. So say if it's haircut, they can write haircut across that bag. They cannot have a list of items written on that bag. She's coming to you.
As far as the nails go, can they cut the nails down?
Yes, they can cut the nails down. And we also want them, and Miss McKinney will go over this a little bit further, but we want them to actually change the shape of the nails. And then I'll let her go over that at that time. Yes.
Excuse me. On the bag, we write disinfected on there because they've got their metal pushers, their cuticle nippers. Is that okay to have disinfected?
It's fine.
And then I have another container, like a plastic shoebox with a lid, that we write needs disinfected. Then when they're done, they put it in the needs disinfected container.
They can
Is that
put that in the
correct?
bag too. They don't have to bring the big containers. It kind of takes up a lot of space for them, especially on the hair side. So just another baggie. They can just stick it inside of there. And they have their trash can to dispose of that in, and they can take that home.
So there's 2 trash bags.
On the hair side, there will be 2 trash cans. You have to.
One for towels, right?
It can be for whatever. One can be for take home, and one can be for disposal that they can throw it away right then and there.
Okay. And does that need to be marked like
No.
needs disinfected. You just
No.
know those are used.
Any other questions?
Are they allowed to bring hand hand lotion from all
Yes.
the sanitizing and stuff to put on their station? Okay. All right, thank you.
There's one in the back, Miss.
I had a natural hair question.
Okay.
One of our students said that they weren't to pre-measure before they bonded the track on.
Yes, ma'am.
You want them to have the whole, take out the whole pack of hair and glue it and then cut it?
No. Go ahead. We're going to go over that this afternoon.
Okay.
So if you want to hold that question,
Okay,
we'll go
thanks.
over that. Any other questions before I'm moving on?
Okay, I just wanted to reiterate a couple of things on the exam policies, especially the texting and cell phone usage. This is becoming quite a large problem. The examiners do a great job catching this. They do not like to have to dismiss people. They get upset a lot of times that they've had to dismiss people. But we do have a zero tolerance policy on cell phone usage and texting. And I know, it's a big thing. Everybody's on their cell phones, but it'd be very helpful if you could really try to emphasize to the students that they will be dismissed, and it will be 90 days before they are permitted to schedule.
Anything else? Okay. All right, we're going to go over our cosmetology practical. The things we're going over are thermal iron, hair cutting, chemical wave, color, relaxer, facial, and manicure. I am going to go over the setup instructions first. Our setup and client protection verbal instructions are read as follows. Following all infection control and safety guidelines, you will set up all of the supplies that you will use for the hair portion of your exam. You will also perform client protection at this time. You will have 15 minutes for your setup procedure, and you will be informed when you have 10 and 5 minutes remaining. Setup and client protection. This is a 15-minute process. Disinfect work area. Again, please make sure you're having your students disinfect the station before they apply anything to that station. Make sure the doors, drawers, everything, curling iron bin, are disinfected. Disposal of all soil materials. Please make sure anything that became soiled is disposed of. Sanitize hands. Make sure they're sanitizing their hands before re-entering inside their stations, their kits, or touching a mannequin or the mannequin hand. Applies neck protection and drape. Please make sure the proper draping is applied to the neck. All sanitizers and disinfectant displays manufacturer's label in English. Please make sure all disinfectants and sanitizer have a manufacturer's label and not written or typed. Follow all infection control guidelines. All porous items need to be put away. Extra items should not be out on the station unless you're going to have it in a baggie. Make sure your doors and drawers are shut at all times. Maintain work area in a safe manner, making sure everything is from the floor. If you dropped anything on the floor, make sure it's picked up, disposed of. If it's something that they need to use, make sure they pick it up, disinfect it, sanitize your hands, and move on. Also, make sure the curling irons are wound up and placed back in that curling iron bin, and that bin is shut. Any other questions on this portion?
I kind of have a question about the whole paperwork here. Before the changes last year in August when we came, you guys used to send this paperwork to each student who applied for their exam, and you don't do that anymore?
No, we don't. They are now required to get it off our website at that time.
So they can go right
print it
online.
any time off the website, as many times as they want.
Okay, thank you.
You said when they drop something, they're supposed to pick it up and sanitize it? Would you pick it up and put it in the needs disinfected container?
If it's something
and then
that they
sanitize your
may
hands?
need to use, like their shears
Scissor would be the only thing.
or razors, and they still
Yeah,
need to finish that
okay.
haircut, they can pick it up and disinfect it, wipe it off, sanitize their hands,
right.
and still reuse it. If it's something they don't need to use, pick it up and dispose of it and sanitize your hands.
And then you could get another comb or something
You
out of the
could get another
drawer.
comb out, yes.
Okay.
Just in case, some people, they don't bring a lot of stuff, so if they need to use that again, they can disinfect it.
What about the mirror? Do you require that still to be sprayed and wiped off?
If they have things on there, yes. At the very, very, very end, when we're doing cleanup, we make sure that they wipe that mirror down. So if you want your students to bring Windex, that's fine, but they can use water to wipe it down. I'm sorry?
They don't have to during the setup
They should do
anymore?
their whole entire station. So
Okay, included
that's
in your-
included.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
What about the thumb grip on the curling irons? Are they allowed to bring those or no?
Say it one more time.
The thumb,
The thumb grips, are they allowed to? Yes, they can bring them.
thank you.
All right, we're moving on. This is our thermal curling iron procedure. Again, this is not a time procedure. Also, we are asking that you do not have your students to preset your mannequin. That's kind of helping in their test, and we actually want to see them do a full curl. So please do not have your students to preset that mannequin head with rollers, okay? Also, we used to allow the students to practice. It was becoming that it was not fair to all students. Some was getting to practice and some not. So now no one will be able to practice. It's just like all the other procedures. When we tell them to begin, that's when they need to do their procedure. So, verbal instructions are read as follows. You will now perform the thermal curling iron portion of this exam. Each candidate will be instructed individually to perform the thermal curling iron portion of this exam. Please make sure all of the steps to the thermal curling iron portion of this exam are completed. You are required to complete 1 or 2 curls. Please do not clip or pin any curls. When you hear the examiner say thank you, that is an indication to you that we are finished evaluating you. And we are moving on to the next candidate. Thermal curling iron. All thermal curling iron products, supplies labeled in English. Implements, tools are visibly clean. Evaluate temperature of iron prior to curling. Section hair same width as iron barrel. Applies heat to base. Hair distribute evenly around the iron. Use comb to protect scalp. Creates a complete curl. Formed curl is smooth. Use iron safely throughout entire procedure. Maintain neck protection and drape throughout procedure. Disposal of soiled materials. Follow all infection control guidelines. And maintain work area in a safe manner. Are there any questions on the thermal? Yes.
When you sit it down,
The
are
lever
those
stand.
are they allowed to use those?
Yes.
Ones that don't have levers on them? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? There's one over here.
I was curious if students can use the wand style curling irons that come with the heat glove that they just wrap the hair around. Okay.
No. There's one in the back also.
I was wondering if they're allowed to cool the curling iron down, or will it cool, or should they have the thermal thing?
Once we're completely, are you talking about when we're finished, when they're finished with their curling iron? Yes, we're asking that they turn that curling iron off, wrap the cord around the curling iron, and place it back inside the bin. And by the time we're ready to clean up, it's usually cooled off. One over here.
Previously, they had to sanitize their hands and test the iron before they were practicing. And I know now you're saying they're not practicing. So do they just stand there?
Yes,
and
they're
wait
just
for
going to
you
stand there and
come?
wait until we come and call their numbers out.
And so then they're going to sanitize and test their iron in front of you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, just wanted to be sure.
Are they allowed to use spring irons?
Yes. Any other questions? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to be going over the haircutting portion. The verbal instructions are as follows. You will now perform the haircutting portion of this exam. You will complete a blended layered haircut using shears and a razor. You will remove a minimum of 1 inch of hair throughout the haircut. The razor will be used to layer the hair from the top of the ears to the hairline. The shears will be used to complete the remainder of the haircut. Please sweep the hair from the floor when the haircut is complete. That will indicate to the examiner that you are finished. This procedure is 30 minutes. You will be informed when you have 10 and 5 minutes remaining. Again, as Ms. Lee stated before, this is the time where we tell them that they can place a paper towel or a towel down on the floor to catch any drips. Just make sure that when they're finished and they're cleaned up, that towel is removed after the haircut. If it is laid on the floor during the rest of the procedures, you will get marked off for safety. Also, the candidates do have the whole entire 30 minutes to complete the haircut. Once the timer goes off and that 30 minutes is up, we tell them that they may go ahead and clean up their area at this time. And when we want them to clean up their area, we want them to make sure that the hair is all out of the head, make sure that the hair is off the cape and off the counter onto the floor, remove those trash cans and sweep your hair up and empty the hair in the trash cans or their own personal trash cans, okay? The haircut is 30 minutes. All cutting products and supplies are labeled in English. The implements and tools are visibly clean. For the razor, you're going to establish the guideline in the nape area using a razor. We like this to be done at a 0-degree angle. You're using the consistent subsections and partings throughout the haircut. Elevation with razor is used throughout the nape section. Handles razor safely at all times. For the shears, uses the shears consistent subsections and partings throughout the haircut. Elevation with shears is used throughout the remainder of the haircut. Follows established guidelines throughout the haircut. Handles shears safely at all times. The nape is uniform in length. The sides are uniform in length. Hair is evenly blended. 1 inch of hair is removed throughout the haircut. Maintains neck protection and drape throughout the procedure. Maintains drape and work area. Mannequin and drape and work area are free from clippings. Sweeps hair from floor. Disposal of soiled material. Follow infection control guidelines, and maintains work area in a safe manner. Are there any questions on the haircutting portion of the exam?
I just have one question about the razor. Our razors have safety guards on them, but some of the girls came back and said that they were told they needed a razor that closed.
We don't specify what type of razor, whatever type of razor that you have, that you provide for them.
Okay, thank you.
If they set them down and they do close, they need to be closed when they set them down.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Could they, the combs that have numbers on them,
Are they allowed to use those to measure their inch?
Yes.
Okay.
If they finish the haircut early, are they allowed to sweep, or do they need to wait till they're
No.
instructed to sweep?
If they do finish the haircut early, they go ahead and clean up their area and then leave a comb out for us ready to check their haircut.
Are you specific about the razor cut as you're going up and you're doing your elevations? Does it have to be horizontal